things are made from one, and in the end, all things return to one.
In other words, one is all.
Indeed, and all is one as well.
All is ultimately of the one. So if all is not included in the one, then all is nothing.
You have passed.
Peace. Now's the vibrate. Y'all know what it is. Not too far in the future, not too far in the past. Right now, wanna tap in with a few little interrelated subjects. One thing that's coming up a lot right now, to be aware of, and for me to share this message is, we always being aware of what we consume. So it's awareness of what we're consuming, not consuming too much, also being aware of, seizures. I kind of spoke on this in a live video, but, the definition of a seizure on multiple levels, you know what I'm saying? Because even, say for instance, a person who has the medical condition of, I think it's called epilepsy, of catching seizures, and one of the things, say for instance, that causes seizures, I think of like a bunch of lights, like flashing and fluttering, like either different, like, because I noticed like how that make me jump a little bit, like if I'm listening to something where the stereo, if y'all familiar with, stereo, listening to something in stereo where something playing on this side and play on this side. But like, if it's like fluttering back and forth, it could kind of create like a stimulating effect, but possibly overstimulating. And imagine, again, something with the stereo like popping off like that, and then even visual is a bunch of lights like flashing, you know what I'm saying? But they give warnings about, stuff like that when it comes to, people who catch seizures, because it could possibly cause a seizure. And you start to realize again how medical conditions tell a metaphysical story, you know what I'm saying? And it's not to say that people who catch seizures per se are being possessed by, entity per se, but that energy is connected, and again, it's like it goes into the perspective of an overload of information, because all those lights flashing, sounds going in and out of different ears, that's like a overload of information, and the overload of information could cause a seizure, where literally you kind of like stuck in this, like, because shaking is almost like going back and forth, like not going forward, not going back, like not going fully forward, not going fully backwards. So you're kind of shaking in place, you know what I'm saying, in essence. And when you're in that state of being, that also promotes the actual definition of seizure, you know what I'm saying, on, it's used more so in what they call law in this realm, you know what I'm saying? But like, you think of, like, I call it the Saturn energy, but you know what I'm saying, think about the police, you know what I'm saying, with search and seizures, you know what I'm saying? And matter of fact, how I put that in the that verse about getting to the now moment, like a search and seizure, you know what I'm saying? But like a seizure is, when, your property is being seized, like it's being taken, it's being, you know what I'm saying? Like in so many words, it's like, stop, let me get that, you know what I'm saying? In essence, let me take that from you. And again, in most cases, it's dealing with property. And in this case, it could be our vehicle, you know what I'm saying? And again, it's not egotistical ownership of this vehicle, but this is, the vehicle that we're the custodian of, so to speak, you know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, the dealing with, custodian, almost like a mixer again of the word guardian, like the guardian of this vehicle, and you have custody over this vehicle, you know what I'm saying? The parents have custody over, you know, custody of a child, but, you know, not necessarily ownership, but again, custody, guardianship, custodian. But just right now, because a lot of us are, you know, a lot of people, a lot of beings are, and say a lot, but, you know, everybody's on different levels, you know, so this message may not be for, you know, again, take what resonate, leave what don't, you know, don't stay in the video if it wasn't for you and then complain in the comments. I'll make little smart gestures about what I should have said or shouldn't. It's not for you. But anyway, you know, it's the season to be aware of information overload, and it's gonna be like 2023 little theme in essence, you know, where less is more, you know what I'm saying, not overstimulating ourselves with too much information. And that also has a lot to do with our energy work, you know what I'm saying. We talk about like clearing karma, or karma being related to baggage or being heavy, you know. In essence, being heavy or dealing with baggage is also like a, you know, literally like, you know, like you're overloading yourself with information. You're overloading yourself with, you know, whether we want to say, let's just say information for lack of a better word. You know, you're overwhelming yourself with energies, you know what I'm saying? And this also has to deal with consumption, because if we overload our system, then we won't be able to properly, you know, consume things. And again, it goes back to the seizure, you know, like the system is like, oh, it's too much information, you know what I'm saying? Like, too much to digest, you know what I'm saying? You know, so it kind of causes like a seizure in essence, you know what I'm saying? And again, you know, being aware to not fear monger yourself, you know, awareness without fear mongering, but just being straight up and real, because we do have to really, really know what's going on with our, you know, internally and externally in our experience, you know, and honoring the holistic view, you know, our holistic or paradoxical, you know, understanding of our experience. And again, back to the overloading of information. If I'm, you know, if I eat a big meal and my stomach all full, and then I go back to eat another big meal, you know what I'm saying? For one, in a lot of cases, you end up throwing up. And I realize again how that could be even, you know, again, this is also dealing with all levels, you know, your mental body or your mind, you know, digest things. And it could either, your mind could properly digest, take what nutrients it need to from the information or knowledge, and then, you know, defecate or, you know, have a bowel movement or shit out whatever wasn't, you know, needed in that information. And whatever is shitted out could also still be used as fertilizer, you know what I'm saying, to fertilize, you know, other mental seeds in essence. Or it could be thrown up, you know what I'm saying, when you just like, you know what I'm saying, you throw up, and sometimes you throw up to yourself, or you throw up, you know, around others or on others, in the sense of like throwing up information and overload somebody else. Like you start to see, like, again, what you done to yourself, like you overloaded yourself with information. So now you vomit information out onto somebody else, and like almost like, to some extent, almost like trying to spread the condition, whether it's, you know, consciously or subconsciously. But just to stick to the importance of being aware, like, again, a lot of us are, you know, removing attachments, you know, and again, attachment, regardless if it's connected to a person, place, or thing, you know, whatever attachments you're dealing with is because you allowed it, first and foremost. And it would be best to have that mind frame, because again, if you're walking around saying, oh, this attachment exists because of them, then that means that other people have the power over what you're attached to. And, you know, that continues, that creates a spell and opens a portal for everybody to just put attachments on you like that. So you got to be aware of your wordplay and aware of your, perspective and true understanding of what's going on in a situation. But removing attachments, because attachments, like if you still have an attachment, like you working on your artwork, you working on, a certain project, you making plans, and then all of a sudden, like a toxic attachment, a karmic attachment, that energy kind of activates inside of you. You know what I'm saying? And now it's tough to do all the things you plan to do because there's an overload of information. There's an overload of, of energy present, for lack of a better word. You know what I'm saying? So it becomes tough to, do what it is that you're doing, and it could be tough to digest because when you have certain attachments, and when they activate, hence why with the whole aspect of lesson loops and memory loss, where you're not able to fully, have access to your memory, or digest things because of that overload of information going on in your system. And being aware, like with attachments, it's not blaming nobody or oh, they could do this or they could do that. But I realize with attachments, especially if connected to a person, whenever that attachment is activated inside of you, you may become a portal for whoever's, attached to you in that way. You're like let's say just like a portal or like a energy of that person being able to spy on you or kind of see what's going on in your realm because you're vibrating on that dimension. Like literally, you're in that dimension, and more so you're in that dimension if you let that attachment, when it's activated, take over everything you're doing, compared to like you could feel the attachment activating, but you make sure you stay healthy in what you're doing and you don't just kind of revert to, again, doing things in alignment with that attachment. But definitely being aware, and again, it probably would be best not to make decisions or work on plans when you are in a triggered, state of being, you know what I'm saying? Because for one, it's also happening for you to understand, what even allowed that attachment in the first place, so you could prevent it from happening again, down the line. So again, it's just the energy of being aware of, these attachments, and also with, fatigue and connecting with attachment, like knowing when your fatigue may be connected with attachment, or when your fatigue is your body actually telling you to rest, you know what I'm saying? And like, say for instance, one of the things I realized, like if you get tired in the middle of like doing something, like you in the middle of, doing something and you was straight the whole time, then all of a sudden it's like just just an overwhelming feeling of like wanting to yawn and, and wanting to rest just comes over you. When it comes all of a sudden like that, you know what I'm saying? Especially when you're in the middle of doing something, in most cases that fatigue may be from attachment, you know what I'm saying? Compared to like when you're, you gradually get tired, like you're doing some work and then you kind of feel yourself getting there gradually, you know what I'm saying? Like piece by piece. And again, like, the difference between like something coming in like, piece by piece, and then something just like smacking you all out of the blue, like boom, like again, like you just like, like fuck, I just need to lay down and just a second, you know what I'm saying? Like it's almost like a 180, you know what I'm saying, so to speak. So in a lot of cases, this may be connected with attachment, on that level. And again, this all goes back to, again, like being aware of our consumption and digestion again, this is metaphorically speaking, you know what I'm saying, to not just the physical aspect, but metaphysical, you know what I'm saying, consumption on all levels. Our ears consume, our eyes consume, mouth, nose consume, our skin consumes, you know what I'm saying, like all these different pathways of consumption, you know what I'm saying. And even if if you're tapping in on a sexual level, our sexual energy is some form of, that's a consumption, you know what I'm saying. Even for the males, you know what I'm saying, you still, even though you're not completely magnetic or more magnetic than a feminine or somebody in a female body, you still, it's still consumption, still like pulling in energies, you know what I'm saying. But like being aware of, to just not overwork yourself, work on simplifying things, not trying to rush right now, you know what I'm saying, knowing our cycles, knowing when it is a cycle, when it's our unique season for, rest, or when it's, a season for work, you know what I'm saying. But, it's just this energy of not overloading yourself, because again, 2023 is going to be a lot of just information, fear mongering, just whatever, you know what I'm saying, just to kind of revisit what I've always been talking about in the past, so better, but not to go all the way back into it, but not to let again, like all of these news stories and shit like that kind of create this fear, or like, oh, I wonder what's gonna happen next, or this and that, you know what I'm saying, getting too caught up in these stories, especially with entertainment, you know what I'm saying, and being aware of, like, it's a slippery slope, because some things in entertainment could now be connected with certain spiritual factors, you know what I'm saying, like key little words like Hebrew or being a chosen one and this and that, in connection with stuff like, I think of like, Kyrie and Kanye West. And, again, not saying that they doing anything harmful or on purpose on that level, but just saying, like, how the media draws it out, because, it's just one simple thing happen, but then every other day it's like, oh, now Kyrie said this, now he doing that, now he doing, it's just like constantly overloading, when, again, we're aware that we came into this world with this, a lot of distractions and a lot of, things going on. But at the same time, it's like being aware of our true self, and like, how our system runs in a space where, it's like simplifying things and not just letting anything into our system. And I saw this too, like with the energy of, smoking. I was smoking in the sunlight and I was facing the sun. The sun was beaming strong. And all of a sudden I kind of felt like an overwhelming feeling in my frontal lobe. And it just kind of came to me that, like, yeah, this is an overload of information. Because, you're smoking the cannabis and it's kind of going to the brain in essence, you know what I'm saying? Hence why, another reason for the munchies, you know what I'm saying? You're trying to deter the attention, because the cannabis smoke and that energy, that information, or quote unquote that high, is kind of dwelling in your, in your brain in this space. But when you eat, that, in essence causes the blood flow or the iron or the Mars energy to kind of divert to the stomach area, and kind of, some people call it like, oh, it dampens my high or blows my high, because what you consider a high is just a bunch of attention and information just kind of like, dwelling in your head space, so to speak, you know what I'm saying. But again, being aware of that consumption, because if I'm getting, the sun is giving, information, and it seems kind of like a world within a world vibe, like, how I spoke on my, from my perspective of, like, what the sun, like the sun could also be almost like being behind an eyeball. So imagine like being behind our eyeball whenever like our eyes are open, you're going to see a bunch of light rushing in. You know what I'm saying? It's like a bunch of light rushing in to the point where it may even seem like a quote unquote sun, you know what I'm saying, in essence. And the sun is giving information though constantly. You know, it's like a, you know, projector and, you know, projecting information, projecting, you know, the algorithm to some extent, you know what I'm saying? But definitely just projecting information to keep it simple. And again, at the same time, I'm smoking, and smoking is information too. So in that moment, I was like overstimulating, you know, giving too much information to my system, you know, again, and this is on all forms of consumption, you know what I'm saying? But definitely in the traditional sense of like, you know, with age of Aquarius, with information, you know what I'm saying, it's going to be a lot of like stuff, and you start to realize like, you know, like having this balance, even with reading books and stuff like that, like you're going to find yourself like wanting to simplify, not like, you know, basically not dealing with too many external sources of information, you know, like it always been to vibrate, but even more, you know, again, like it's just really easier to see like, dang, like that's why it's so important to be present, you know what I'm saying? And again, yeah, we have a balance, and I spoke on this in the tradition and memory video in connection with the feminine energy or the water energy, you know, and the moon energy, which deals with, you know, memory, you know, tradition and stuff like that. But even with some traditions and some of the things that ancestors did, you know, being aware that we're also here to do things a little different in accordance with our now moment, because our now moment ain't exactly the same as when it was, you know, Kemet or Atlantis or other situations. May have dealt with similar, you know, paradigm shifts in some way, form, or fashion, but at the same time, it's not exactly the same. In the most efficient form of information is going to be found in the present moment. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, you know, again, like not overloading ourselves with information is key. You know what I'm saying? Again, overload of information could cause seizures. We don't want no seizures. You know what I'm saying? Not knocking, you know, seizures, but you know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? But, you know, just monitoring what we're consuming and just being aware to not overconsume. You know, you may find that it's easier to fast, you know, again, that you may find that like reading certain stuff may feel like you are overloading yourself, even if it's spiritual information, you know what I'm saying, spiritual knowledge in the books or spiritual facts, you know, it still feels like, you know, like an overload. Because at this point, another thing, again, kind of going back to the attachment part and the karmic energy part, and also, again, like I always bring up, like your highest protection is knowing yourself to the fullest. And, you know, all of that book information is cool, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, though, you know what I'm saying, it's about like being real informed about what's going on inside your vehicle, you know what I'm saying, what's going on with your spirit, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, we all know this, you know what I'm saying, we all done said it in so many ways, but also, again, like being in tune, because there are certain messages that have to come through that's not going to come through us speaking verbally, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be able to, you know, like when you see birds move, when they flying different, you know, like they all turn together this way or they all turn together that way. You know, it's not like you hear them like say, for instance, like soldiers marching where they like left, right. Like, no, they silent. They just know, you know, they got something going on. They tapped into something, you know what I'm saying? And again, it's not like a hive mind perspective where, you know, it's taking away your individual or unique expression or experience, you know what I'm saying? And that's the parody of it. At the same time, though, it is like and for the most part, being like we all be dialed into, you know, the same radio station, so to speak, you know what I'm saying? And again, in order to tune in, you know what I'm saying? We have to be very, clear and not overloading ourselves with, again, I say information for lack of a better word, knowledge, facts, but let's say info, because again, the body has to process that, you know what I'm saying? So also, it's like key important to, reflect on, again, like, the root cause of our attachments, and doing what we need to do to, to heal and remove that attachment, you know what I'm saying? And again, like, like I think about, even with watching movies or shows and stuff like that, like that energy of like, oh, watch something new without fully digesting, the movie. Because in most cases for me, like I watch movies and shows for like the, the metaphysical little points of it, you know what I'm saying? But if I'm just like, oh, new show, and I'm not processing and fully digesting what the previous show was, giving me, then I'm not really, gonna grasp, what I was supposed to grasp from, eating that or digesting that or consuming that, you know what I'm saying? So just, again, like being aware of our consumption, simplifying it. And I'm just, bringing up different analogies to kind of bring it in. But that's just definitely going to be a theme, is to just not overload, ourselves with information and insight, you know what I'm saying? Should I say, external information, you know what I'm saying? Inform. But I think that's it, and again, implementing patience. Patience is not the same as procrastination. There's a difference between patiently moving forward and then continuously putting off something that we know we should work on, or that we want to work on, that's best for us to work on, whatever the case may be. But just have that awareness to, be simplifying things to the best of our abilities, so that we could really be, digesting and understanding what's being activated internally. You know what I'm saying? Again, this is not making, reading or, watching videos, it's not bad. It's just understanding that the moments that we kind of moving through, you know what I'm saying? And the energy of like, about timing, you know what I'm saying? Like, again, playing sports, it's about timing. It's like passing that ball at that right moment. Well, it goes in between the defender to my teammate. If I would have been a little off on that timing, the pass would have been deflected, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of like, with how messages work, But that's basically it, you know what I'm saying? Just not overloading yourself with information, and again, like letting go of attachments. There's going to be a lot of, beings, giving up long time vices, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people going to be like, oh man, I quit smoking, man, I quit drinking, I quit doing this, I quit doing that, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, and hence why, I know is that for myself, that's how it works, and it may be the same for others, like where you indulge so much in certain unhealthy or toxic vices to the point where, without like throwing yourself overboard, but you're like indulging in so much that you become like disgusted by it, I think before like I stopped drinking, that was the thing, like I was drunk so many nights and just, it's just so much of like headaches and shit like that, where it's like, man, why am I even doing this, and like I don't even want to smell liquor no more, you know what I'm saying? Like it kind of gets to that point, you know what I'm saying? For some, it doesn't take that, And again, everybody different. Some people came into this realm ain't never touched none of this type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? This message not for you. But, you know, yeah, it's definitely just not over consuming, you know, is the key. And realizing, you know, all that's consuming, you know, grounding is a form of consumption to some extent. Yeah, you letting go of energy, but you also connecting with the energy, and it's an information exchange when you're grounding, working with crystals, you know what I'm saying? Like, cause I even found myself, like, you know, very rarely, but just picking one piece, you know what I'm saying, to wear right now, you know what I'm saying? I'm with my fluorite, you know what I'm saying, and my pyrite, speaking of, like, you know, being able to digest, you know what I'm saying, insight, in essence, ground and digest, you know, again, working with the yellow energy, working with the solar plexus, and no coincidence that the yellow energy, again, is also reflective of the mental body as well, or the mental part of our auric field, you know, is connected to the color yellow and connected to our stomach, and then also having a gut feeling or a gut mind or a gut intuition. So it's like a mind in the stomach, in essence. And, you know, again, clearing things mentally, digesting properly, you know what I'm saying? But just making sure we're not biting more than we could chew right now, you know what I'm saying? And whenever we, like, eat, even sometimes eating at all, like, sometimes our body may be, you know, genuinely, you know, a vehicle asking for a fast, you know, to the point where even eating one thing could be, not say overconsumption, but like, you know, consuming one thing may be kind of pushing the overload, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where it's a bunch, you know, because again, man, there's a bunch of different, you know, like, literally, like, paradigm shifting, changing, transforming. Like, it's a bunch of little, you know, it's a bunch of little algorithms and things that's changing up, you know, inside the software, inside the, you know, the mainframe of the vehicle, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, when you think about it like that, again, like with a computer, you know, you downloading this big ass file, you putting, you know, this new program on your computer, and it's like I don't know how many gigs. You're not gonna be able to try to go to a news website and continuously scroll and then do something over here, open a window over here and open a window, because that's literally, like, you know, that's why, you know, computers kind of reflect that energy, you know what I'm saying? Like, those operations are the same, you know, it's like one and the same, you know, we got something downloading or uploading, but then we constantly trying to open other windows, you know what I'm saying, literally and figuratively. And when you open up windows, that's also opening up, you know, a window literally and figuratively for somebody or something to climb through, you know, and possibly cause a seizure, you know what I'm saying? Like, overload of information could, you know, again, allow for property for the, you know, they say repossess, but, you know, to be, you know, again, taken away or seized, you know what I'm saying, to have your property or your vehicle seized. You don't want that, you know what I'm saying? So, but you know, my playlist, Eternal Health, you know, it's a timeless playlist. It's filled with all kind of ways to with all types of applicable, however you want to, you know, whatever word is grammatically correct, you know, from the school system way of using language. But anyway, you know, my eternal health playlist has a bunch of things that could, you know, that you could tap into if you're looking for different little pointers on how to help yourself. You know, even got the video on, you know, how to, you know, raise your vibration, you know. But that's basically it, you know what I'm saying? You know, take a break from, you know, again, like I'll be the first one to tell you, you know what I'm saying? Take a break from, you know, watching my videos if necessary, or reading, or whatever the case may be. You You know what I'm saying? Connecting with nature. You know what I'm saying? Very key. If you're in the city, again, you could not, the grass and stuff not easily accessible. That's where crystals like moss agate, petrified wood, or crystal in general, but petrified wood and moss agate would come in handy, you know what I'm saying, to have around, you know what I'm saying, to kind of be connected with that energy, you know what I'm saying. But just again, being aware of consumption levels, because it's going to be all kind of, entertaining stuff with entertainment, stuff with news, like, oh, they're trying to start a war with Russia. Oh, they're trying to, some of the same old shit. Oh, matter of fact, and again, haven't we realized yet that the world is not ending? You know what I'm saying? And what I mean by that, like the world may be shifting, and one world may be metaphysically, ending in that sense, but not in the sense of like all these apocalyptic movies where they trying to plug into your subconscious to kind of be on some purge shit, or to be on some like, oh, this gonna happen, that gonna happen. But basically like trying to use your mind like a Pokemon or like a genie to kind of grant their wish of destruction. You know what I'm saying? Not even say they, you know what I'm saying, like that energy signature, you know what I'm saying, is, trying to, again, promote the creation of that energy, you know what I'm saying? So, again, simplifying, less consumption. The less you consume right now, the more you will gain. You know what I'm saying? The more you could be tapped in. And that's it, again, remembering all those little simple things, like the example I gave with the smoke and the sunlight, all forms of consumption. You know what I'm saying? And again, like, and letting go, allowing for yourself to heal and work through these energies, at your own pace, you know what I'm saying? Because you're not going to rush something, you can't rush, doing surgery, you know what I'm saying, where you need like 50 stitches on the area, you know what I'm saying? You can't rush that. You got to take your time stitching that back up, you know what I'm saying? Just trust that whatever pace that, your life circumstances, whatever pace that, your experience, whatever pace due to what has manifested in your experience, whatever pace that allows for you to move at, just trust that, hey, you meant to move at that pace. Otherwise, you would have the capability of, just jumping into moving, quicker. But again, it's like just an energy to kind of slow down and not overconsume, you know what I'm saying? Especially when a lot of information is going to be pushed around on all types of ways, again, smelling is information, seeing stuff is information, hearing things, information. The skin, too much information. Like I'm taking baths with soaps that got all kind of shit in it. I'm eating all kind of super processed food. And I say I don't even want to speak it into, like if you was to be eating all kind of processed foods and all, that's overload of information. You know what I'm saying? Well, here it is like that. All of the processed food information is kind of getting in the way of the spiritual, true, pure, energetic, knowledge, wisdom, or say just knowledge and information, that's for the highest good of our whole being. But now it's to vibrate, not going too far in the future, not too far in the past, right now. Peace.